everybody, this is Kristen and I have our Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt clue number 9 for this way and that way. So you should have your paper with all the directions on it, tells you what size fabrics that are in your package this month. And this month we are making this beautiful like partial square block, partial star block, which I'm super stoked. I really like stars, so I'm really kind of hopeful that maybe, just maybe, there'll going to be a few in our final reveal. And the reveal comes next month, so we are almost done with this version of the Puzzle Mystery Quilt. So obviously there's a spring one going on as well. This was the fall 2018 one. And it's going to be so much fun. I haven't done one of these before, but I watched the reveal from the last one that they just finished up a few months ago, and holy moly, watching all of the different colorways come together, and there were some that I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't have picked that initially, but that looks amazing, and now I kind of want it. So, so I'm really excited to see what happens with this go round. So like I said, you've got pieces for this, and you're gonna make 2 of them this month. So it's really quick and simple, really shouldn't take that long. Some chain piecing, which I really love. And yeah, that's, if you just wanted to see what we made this month, that's about it. Questions, comments, concerns, as always, let me know in the comments box below. Hit subscribe, hit the ding dong notification button so you never miss a video. And for those of you who want to sew along with me, stand by and we'll get to that in just a second. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is we are going to start joining sections L1 and L2, so we're at number 1 on our list of things to do. You're going to have some number 6 pieces, which are my green ones, and you're going to have some number 5 pieces, which are these lighter orange ones. And what you're basically going to do is make a 4 patch. So 6 is going to be in your top left corner and bottom right. And then your 5s, oops, are gonna fill in those other corners for you. So put the pretty sides together, those right sides together, and we're just going to pin. And this month, like I was saying, is really nice because it's perfect for just chain piecing. You can go really quick. So, alright, I've got my leader fabric here to start. I'm going to give myself a couple stitches, and then I am just going to sew a seam across these couple of patches right here. Once I get those put together, I am going to go over to my pressing mat and press that. And then I'm going to sew the 2x2s together to make a 4 patch. So I'm going to finish sewing, and then you probably don't really need to see me press. It's not that thrilling or special for this section. Just as always, remember, you're pressing, you're not pushing the fabric around, you're literally up, down, and then gently moving the fabric over to, usually it's the dark side, and there's no pressing instructions this month that I noticed, so you can kind of press it whichever way, either to your 6 or your 5 fabric. I don't honestly recall. I think I did it to my 5, but it doesn't really matter. So let me go press these guys, and then I'll be right back. You should have 2 pieces that are 2x2s. And now what you're going to do, again, if you want to set it up like your photo, so 6 in the top left corner and bottom right, your 5's opposite of that. So basically just make sure the colors are matching up with the other fabric. So your 5 is touching your 6 on both sides. And if you pressed your fabric both to your 5s or both to your 6s, they should nest really, really nicely. And that just helps you have these really pretty seam lines when the block comes together. So do your best to get that all lined up nice and pretty. And then we're just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam, well, scant 1/4 inch seam along that edge. When you finish your 4 patch, it should look like this, and the seams that I was talking about when they meet is right here in the middle. So it should look more or less like you have one line running across if everything met up really, really nicely. So that's going to be the center of our half star, and I'm going to go ahead and put that aside for now. You're going to get out your triangles. So you should have some number 3s, some littler ones, and some number 1s. So again, this is a great time to do some chain piecing. So I'm going to lay out my 2 1s, and then I'm going to get my 3 fabric out. So you're going to want to match up this long end, so you can see that there's a long end, 2 short ends. Match up the long end on one of the short ends of the large ones. So you are making flying geese. With these triangles, you are going to get some bias edges. So just make sure that while you're pinning and while you're sewing them, you're very gentle. You're not pulling, tugging, distorting it, because that's going to have a effect on how these come out. So just be very, very gentle with them. So I'm going to get these guys pinned together, and then I'm going to sew, obviously, along that seam that I'm pinning, or along that edge rather. And then these I am going to press towards the darker fabric, which is my number 3. Alright, let's do a couple of flying geese. You should now have 2 partial flying geese. The goose with 1 corner of the sky fabric. Really easy to remember that for me because I got blue, but you might not. So you're going to take the other piece of your sky fabric, match it up to that empty edge here, and sew. And what you're going to find when you're putting them together, you're like, oh, there's that weird overlapping edge, you know, it doesn't look right. Don't worry about it. I always try to just match this edge right here. So if you can match up that corner, that edge, everything else will fall into place. So part of the reason it looks a little weird is because they cut off the dog ears. So you don't have the rest of the triangle that meets out at the end. And that's just so we don't have to cut them off ourselves, which is absolutely amazing. I love it. But you know, in the long run, it's not going to have any negative effect on this block. As long as you sew everything together correctly, it'll look just fine. So I'm going to pin these guys, sew, carefully press, again, where you're sewing and you're pressing with these bias seams, be super, super careful. And then our flying geese blocks will be complete. And then we join this to our 4 patch. So once we get these guys done, we add them to the 4 patch, and then we have 2 longer strips that we add to the top and the side, if I remember correctly. And that literally is our block for this month. So like I said, this month is super quick and easy. I find it kind of funny how sometimes that works out, that there's months where I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so many moving parts, there's so many pieces, this is taking a while. And then there's months like this where I'm like, alright, I'm just flying through. So it's kind of fun. You get that sense of accomplishment that, hey, I got some stuff done this month, which is great, and it's one of the reasons I love this program. And I like the sense of mystery. So like I said, I'm super excited to see how this all turns out in the end. and it'll make for a really fun month next month. Alright, so I've got these guys all sewn together. I'm going to go ahead and press, and I'll be right back. You should have 2 flying geese, and you also have one little lonely square here, and then of course your 4 patch. So again, we're going to continue to do some of this chain piecing, and by that I mean we're going to take this guy and attach it to our 4 patch, and we're going to take the square and attach it to our flying goose. So let's orient the square first. And again, we're putting 6 up in the top corner and the bottom right corner. And then we're going to take one of our flying geese and make sure that the point is pointing towards your block. So we're going to put that on the left-hand side. So go ahead and put the nice pretty sides together. Pin, 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 pin. Since this is down on the longer side, I'm going to go ahead and do the ends first and then work my way in. You know, usually I do that when I've got like borders or things like that, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to do it on this one as well. So, do that, and then I'm going to take these 2. So you're going to make sure that your goose is pointing up, and then this white square, your number 1 square, is going to be on the left-hand side of that. So go ahead and pin that as well, and we're going to sew those 2 different parts together. And then what you're pinning right now, the goose with the number 1 square, is going to go in the bottom of your goose with the quarter, or with the 4 patch. So let me sew these guys up and we'll be right back. So I've got part of my star block and my last flying goose with its little additional piece of fabric. So my block that has the 4 patch and the flying goose, the goose should be on the left hand side, and then you're going to take this white and make sure that's directly below the goose. So go ahead and get those matched up. And again, this is starting to get a little on the longer side, so I'm going to start pinning at the edges and then going into the middle. Let me do this, get this sewn, and then I'll be right back. Once you have your points sewn on, you're again going to orient your blocks so that you have 1 flying goose on your left and 1 flying goose on the bottom. And then you're going to take the shorter of your 2 strips. This one should be your 9.5 inch long strip, and you're going to put that on the left. So you're going to sew that to the left hand side, attach it to that left hand goose, and then once we get this guy on, the last strip just goes on the bottom. So let me pin, 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 sew a little bit, and then I'll come back and we can put on that last border. Time for the last piece. So make sure the one that has the border is on the left hand side. You're going to take your strip that's 11 inches and place it on the bottom. And then you're going to sew that on, and then we are done. So let me get this done, and then I will show you my 2 blocks side by side. So here we are at the end of month 9 with my beautiful partial star blocks. And just make sure as we're getting ready to go into our final month that you've got everything together, it's all laid out. I like to take my blocks, and they always come in these nice, your fabric comes in these little baggies. So what I do is I take my directions, I take my color card, so it's always in the previous month box or baggie, however you want to look at it, and I put all of that in the bag. So literally I have this pile of bags from the last couple of months. And all I have to do is get out each of those. They're all labeled with what month it is. And I'll be able to hopefully put everything together pretty easily next month. One thing I might do is go ahead and go through and actually label. So I haven't been labeling with what they give us in here because I don't want to cut up my directions. So I might just go lazy, piece of paper, L1 and L2, and that way I'll know what they are. I've got alphabetties, but they don't have multiple names, numbers, and letters, so that one's going to be a little bit tough for me to use. So that is the end of this month. One more month, and we will have our answers of what this all looks like. So hopefully you guys are getting excited. Let me know what you think. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, like I said earlier, drop me a line. Otherwise, I'll see you next month for the grand review. Thanks.